Could you imagine the coverage on ESPN if LeBron went to the Knicks? Like
What would it be
that
like?
would be 80% of their coverage would be LeBron, Mecca, like all year. Even during football season, it would be LeBron is on the Knicks. I just can't picture him like on the Knicks.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, Sistad, Brad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 52. We are back to a episode of just current events, relative current events in New York and Philly sports. We're just going to talk and ramble and disagree and argue and knock things over and have some fun.
Let's do it. I've got my my Super Bowl. I knew that it was episode 52, obviously, because I'm so on top of things.
Well, we can't see your shirt, so
I've got it's my my Eagles Super Bowl 52 champion shirt. It's it's like the Last Supper, like a painting of the Last Supper, but it's all Eagles from the 2017 team. So there's Nick Foles is Jesus, and you've got Fletcher Cox, who's better than Darrelle Revis in there, Lane Johnson. There's a whole cast of characters. It's great.
Fun stuff.
Yep.
I thought that was a 1776 Revolutionary War shirt.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
All right.
Although that would be pretty apropos since it's 4th of July on Friday, but no. Eagles.
So we're going to talk, some relevant stuff. Sixers draft. We'll talk free agency. We're recording this so everyone knows Monday night. Free agency started 2 hours ago, so there's a bunch of moves are going on. We're not going to talk much about what's going on because by the time this is out, it'll be 2 days from now and everyone will have known. But if it's Knicks Sixers related regarding free agency or trade, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk LeBron because that's going on right now. And again, if for some reason something happens between now and this is out, probably going to leave it in. Probably going to leave this conversation in. So we'll talk LeBron. Does he fit with the Sixers? Does he fit with the Knicks? I know, Sistad, you want to know why these rumors even happening at all, that he might be traded. We'll talk Edgecombe, Sixers draft pick. We're not going to talk about the Knicks draft because it was kind of comical. We're going to talk, we're going to touch on the Yankees, Mets, and Phillies. We haven't really talked much baseball. We are heading into July, but when this is out, it will be July. And we have the first place in the NL East Phillies, the first place in the AL East Yankees, and the second place in the NL East New York Mets to talk about. And we're not mocking fans on Twitter, right?
No.
Yeah, I have a thought on that. I do have a thought on the Let's Mock New York Fans on Twitter segment that we're not going to be mocking. We're going to turn into a mocking Sistad segment. Okay.
Okay. Let's do it.
Brief. It's a very brief, but it needs to be done.
All right.
And then we'll wrap up with some subscriber questions. We have 3 that we want to get to. So let's jump right in. Let's talk Sixers. We texted about this. You were very upset about the draft pick. So at number 3, they pick VJ Edgecombe. And you're very upset. So I guess right off the bat, let's talk about the Sixers draft and why you're upset.
Okay. Let's do it. So you know that I was going to be upset no matter what. No matter who they picked, I would have had a negative reaction. Just because that's who I am. That's how I'm wired. So upon further review, believe it or not, the more I sit with this, the more that I am happy with the pick for a couple of reasons. One, I think the main thing that makes me the most happy is, we always joke around. I don't know if nobody knows how good any of these kids are going to be. Like, we just don't. But they seemingly got the best player available after picks 1 and 2. Does he have the highest ceiling? Probably not. But he seems like a crazy athlete. His deficiencies are not as extreme as you might hear, because if you first look at, if you just YouTube this kid, like 75% of what you see is just like dunks, which to me, I was like, okay, when am I going to see this kid like hit a jump shot or take somebody off the dribble? And it just wasn't, eventually I found it, but you got to look a little bit. So it's there. It needs work. But the thing that I appreciate, one, I think Daryl Morey's job is very difficult. Specifically this season, they look like they're really trying to thread the needle of being competitive now and planning for their future. And I think this pick is like the best of both worlds in that sense. So I think it's good. I'm pretty happy with it. He's still really young. He's crazy athletic. But what I like the most, and I know this isn't really your cup of tea, and I know Daryl Morey kind of gets ripped for like just being like analytics number stat sheet guy, but I think like these last three picks that he's made have all been like high character kids. Um, like Tyrese Maxey, not a very high prospect coming out of college, but he's a great kid who works his ass off. Couldn't shoot coming out of the draft, and now he's awesome. Now he's an all-star, and he's got himself a max contract. Same with Jared McCain, not like the highest prospect coming out last year, but great kid, super hard work ethic, and was really damn good last year, and he's got a really bright future. And that's the sense that I get with this Edgecombe kid. Looks like he's going to work his ass off. He's going to compete on both ends, and I think he's going to really want to get better. So I think he helps in the right now, in the near future, and he's going to help long term if he continues to get better. His athleticism really pops off the screen. So yeah, if he can develop his handle a little bit, if he can become a little bit more of a off the dribble type shooter, then I think he's got a really bright future. So I'm excited. I don't know if he's going to be the perfect player, probably not, but I think they got, all things considered, I think they got the best player available. And I think, like I said, I think he fits the bill for both helping now if you want to compete now, and he's going to help them in the long term as he develops.
I think if you take a player third overall, the idea is he helps right away. I mean, the level of helping might be, that might fluctuate a lot, but the idea is that he's going to have an impact. He's going to be a rotation player. He's not going to start, right? Or is he going to start?
He might. I guess it's going to depend on what happens with the Grimes situation, but he may not. And if he doesn't, that's okay. I still think just being a pain in the ass, being able to get out and transition, like, is going to be huge, and he'll definitely get significant minutes right away. Whether he starts, I don't know, but he's going to play a lot.
I didn't take you as a fan that is against something, and then once the players in house, like, you convince yourself that to like the player. You're like, you'll start buying in. I didn't realize I didn't take that for you.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I guess it might be a little outside of my norm, but yeah. I mean,
that's okay, by the way.
Yeah, no,
it's okay.
Obviously, like, we joke about draft coverage and stuff, so I really didn't know much about the kid.
You were so upset, though.
I know. Well, part of that's an act, but
no, it wasn't an act. You were really annoyed.
Well, I was annoyed. I guess I had thought that the kid from Rutgers, I would have wanted him because he just looks like a really good, really tough shot maker. Which is always exciting, and it's like fun to root for. But I don't know, if the more that had come out like before the draft, he just doesn't really seem like he's gonna want to be role player guy. Like, he seems like he wants to.
He refused to do like to come out to visit teams and stuff, right? That's the guy.
Yeah.
What was his name? What's his name again? Why am I blanking?
His name is Ace Bailey. And
Ace Bailey, that's right.
It seems to me like he is like the perfect, like, good stats, bad team guy. Like, apparently, I think he was like dying to go to Washington or like Charlotte, somewhere where like no one ever wants to go, because he just wanted to go and take a bunch of terrible shots and become a usage monster and score 25 points a game just because he's taking 40 shots a game. So as I kind of dove into that more, and just I think a lot of the just seeing his reaction that Edgecombe I'm talking about now, just seeing his reaction to getting drafted and reading some of his backstory, like that was the stuff that really uh that really kind of hit home for me. So I am
Yeah, I don't think that
excited.
matters
I
much.
don't want to put well, maybe it doesn't, but I just think the two recent hits that the 76ers have had in the draft are both like super high character kids who want to work hard. So
No,
that's
that's
the
good
sense
for
that I
the
get from him.
culture and chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that is what continues to happen. So I am relatively excited to watch him play. I still don't really have high hopes for the 76ers, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe, see what they can become.
Moments after being drafted, after they drafted Edgecombe, you called it the worst lottery pick in the history of the NBA.
I
You
said
texted
that.
me, boo. And then you go, he can't do anything but dunk. He scored 15 points per game last year and 44% field goal percentage. It says developing shooter in his draft bio, LMAO. Oh, God, you're so
That's
funny.
great. That is
Dude,
great.
but by the
Yeah.
way, this is not, you deserve to be complimented on this 180 you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, good job. Good job looking into it and being
See
open and
that?
changing your perspective.
Maturing. Yep.
Good job. Now, would you do that if he wasn't drafted by the Sixers? Say he was drafted,
No.
I don't know, any other team, you'd be no, he
Yes.
sucks.
Once he became good, then I would say, damn it, the Sixers passed on this kid at number 3, and I would have.
I said all
I
along
will
they should have got him.
always. That's. I will always find a way to get mad. You know this, so
Yeah, that's true.
that's all good.
All right, let's talk LeBron. Now, before we get into LeBron to the Sixers talk, before we started recording, you said that you mentioned you didn't really understand the whole thing. What do you mean? You don't understand why he'd be on the trade market?
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, didn't he opt into his option, and now it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, he opted in, but he's gonna ask for a trade request. So like, why is that? Why are people saying that? I just think that that's kind of weird, and like, why would the Lakers trade him? It just a trade to me doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense, but I'm open to hearing why you might think so. You know what's weird?
All right, so
Just before you do that,
what?
so if LeBron is going into his 8th season as a Laker.
I know that's crazy, right?
That will be his longest stint with any NBA team, and I think that is insane to me. Like I still don't think of LeBron as a Laker. Like when I think LeBron, I will always think Cleveland, and then I'll think Miami, and I'll think LA Laker last. Like not even no question.
Well, I get that because he played his best years with Miami, probably Miami and Cleveland. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think of LeBron. He's just not someone that I'd associate. But I think this might even be part of the legacy he wanted. Is I don't associate LeBron with a team. I associate LeBron as LeBron, which is probably kind of him and his agency as his team. They probably preferred that. Like people associate MJ with the Bulls, Kobe with the Lakers, Duncan with the Spurs, and go on and on. But LeBron is just LeBron.
Yeah.
That might be something he wanted. I don't know.
Maybe
it may just be a coincidence.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
That is crazy. I agree. All right, so why? Okay, so let me explain a couple things. So he had an option to opt in or opt out. He could opt in for his $52.5 million. Now, you're saying if he wanted to leave, why would he just opt out and go into free agency? That seems like if you want to leave, decline your option, go into free agency, and then go wherever you want to go. Problem is, the only team that had really the cap space to sign him, unless he wanted to sign like a $14 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception, was the Nets. He obviously doesn't want to go to the Nets because that wouldn't make any sense to leave the Lakers to go to the Nets who can't win. So that wasn't realistic because unless he was willing to take, like, again, the $14 million or, $5 million, and then, that'd be ridiculous if he took like $14 million when he was can opt in for 52. So the only way to potentially get a trade would be to opt into that deal. Now, what I assume happens is that his team probably wanted him to opt out and then work out an extension with the Lakers, a new contract with more years. And I'd guess that the Lakers probably weren't willing to do that because this dude's going into his age 41 season. And then, so why are these trade rumors starting from on his end? Well, because, you saw his agent put out that statement along with the news of him opting in, that he's monitoring the movement. He understands the Lakers are going in a different direction, thinking about the future, and LeBron still really wants to win. Something along those lines. It was the statement. So it's a strange. Well, it's a strange statement. Agents don't put out statements like that when a player opts into his contract. Like, he's monitoring the movement. He understands. He understands the Lakers are thinking about the future, but LeBron still wants to win now. So it makes people think like, oh, well, maybe there's something to that. Like, maybe why would you put out that statement? It's LeBron, his agent did it, but obviously LeBron knows and was behind it as well.
Right.
So there might be some reasoning behind it. Now the other thing is, why would the Lakers trade him? Well, because the Lakers can build this team around Luka going forward, and I'm not sure that. And all right, so LeBron opts in. After the year, we talked about this on some of our off-season episodes, where if LeBron opts in, which he did, he's there for the year, and then let's say he retires after the season. That $52.5 million, the Lakers can't just go into free agency and spend $52 million on like a star player. There's no way you just lose that contract slot. You lose that slot. So for them, you trade him for a player that takes that contract slot, and then you have that $50 million or whatever, $40 million player going forward that you can then move for different pieces. So, or maybe it's multiple players.
Yeah, I don't see. Okay, I guess that makes some sense. I still don't see. Okay, if LeBron wants to win, like who's gonna be a trade partner with them that makes sense? And like, I don't know, if you want to win, you're still playing at a pretty damn high level. You've now got Luka Doncic on your team, and you've got a whole offseason to maneuver. I don't know. It just seems like that's a pretty good spot if you want. Well, now obviously the West is pretty stacked, so it's not super ideal. But like, I mean,
how are they going to win? Do you really think they're like? Do you really think going to his age 41 season, if they couldn't win with him at age 40 season, he's always like, how are they going to win? Like, how they don't have much maneuverability with the roster. I mean, they can do some things here and there, but there's not like this crazy, like there's no huge impact player coming in that's going to bring them to 2 or 3 levels up, because they're significantly worse than the Thunder, and they clearly were outclassed by the Wolves. And
yeah, but like where else are you going to go though? I guess like there's no.
Well, I think the number one place that people have in mind is the Cavs. Like, finish his career with the Cavs, win a championship with the Cavs. Look,
that would be pretty cool.
I could see why LeBron would want that. Like, that's a great legacy thing. I'm not sure if the Cavs would want that. First of all, they'd be over the second apron. You can't aggregate contracts, so it'd be very tricky. It'd be a very tricky situation. You'd have to basically blow up. You'd have to trade 2 of your key pieces. You're you're shortening your window to like a year or 2 just to get LeBron. I don't know how much that makes sense, but. For the Sixers, though, who do the Sixers have to offer? First off, it makes less sense for the Lakers to make a trade with the Sixers, unless it's somehow a 3-way trade where you'd have to have Paul George in the trade, and he would not be going to the Lakers, because why would the Lakers want Paul George? So you'd have to have a third team that's willing to take on the cap space, which now there's a lot less teams that are, because the Nets already made trades to take on cap space. They took on Michael Porter. But there's probably a trade out there where you could trade Paul George, picks. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't think they would do it.
You'd have to trade pretty much every pick and young player asset you have for like a year of LeBron. It doesn't make any sense for the Sixers.
Doesn't make any sense. Or for LeBron.
It doesn't make sense for anyone. It doesn't even make sense for the Lakers.
Yeah, I agree.
I saw the odds had like the Sixers as like the fourth favorite for him.
What?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense though. I don't know where they get this from. Just because maybe he had interest in going there in the past, and it makes sense to go to the East.
Yeah, so, I guess so. What about McBride for LeBron? Who says no?
So
LeBron, the Knicks actually he backtracks. He opts out of his. Actually, he opts out of his option. He signs with the Lakers for $4 million, and then they trade him to the Knicks for McBride.
Yeah. So the Knicks actually have salary cap ways, player contracts ways to make this work. Like it financially would legitimately work. There's 3 options they can do. Now, do you want me to tell you what I think about these options before, or just explain the options first?
Tell me what you think about them before.
I think they're horrible. I think you can't do any of these. So I'll just set that straight right now.
Come on, man.
I don't want the Knicks trading for LeBron. All right, but anyway,
you're a hater, dude. You're an MJ guy. You hate LeBron. You know?
Yeah, and one of these you're going to think that the Knicks should do.
Okay.
All right. So one option is the Knicks trade Cat. They would need to add 2-way players, signing trade guys, whatever, league minimum guys to even up the salary. It's close, so it's not completely even. It might be like $1 million or $2 million off. So you add salary fillers to complete that trade, and you bring in LeBron James. And Cat's out. Mitch becomes the starting 5. You go Mitch at the 5. You go LeBron, OG, Hart, Brunson, Deuce, and then that's pretty much the top 6 or top 7. Yeah, top 7, and that's kind of the roster. Now, would that make the Knicks better this year? Better question. Would that make them better in the playoffs?
I don't know. I
don't think it would make them better in the season, but I do think it would probably make them better in the playoffs.
I think it's better to have another just ball handler, playmaker in crunch time other than Brunson. You know, if you can have one other guy that can do these things, then it makes defense a lot harder for the other team. So
I agree with that sentiment completely. So I think it might raise their championship ceiling a little bit, but here's why I think it'd be a really bad trade, and why the Knicks I don't think would even entertain it. And it's very similar to what I was saying about KD. Is all right. So you trade Cat, who you have, 3 years, and then for 4 years, more years, then he's extension eligible, whatever. You have Cat for this 3 or 4 year window, and you're trading 32-year-old Cat for 40, going into 41 age season LeBron. Then LeBron retires. Let's just say you don't win a championship, which it's very tough to win a championship. The odds are against it. LeBron retires, you lose that contract slot. You lose that slot. You can't like I was saying before about the Sixers. You can't, about the Lakers. You can't just replace that money. You can't just go into free agency and replace that money. That money coming off your books might get you under the first apron, and then you get your $14 million mid-level non-taxpayer exception. So you can sign a player for $14 million, which is not close to the value of a Cat or LeBron. So you're basically shortening your window to 1 year, maybe if he stays for another year, 2 years. And then watch what this also does. Because the salaries don't match up completely, you have to aggregate contracts. When you aggregate contracts to match the salaries, because we'll get into this. There's a subscriber question about the first apron and second apron later. But
you are nerding out right now on apron and taxpayer.
So
it's impressive, actually.
The point is
I'm
that
impressed.
the point is that you have to aggregate contracts to match salary. Like you said, you have to add like salary filler, essentially, sign and trade guys, two-way players, whatever. When you do that, it hard caps you at the second apron. So the point is they wouldn't have the ability. They wouldn't have the ability to go and use that mid-level exception. They would be signing league minimum players around that roster. So you're shortening your window, and you're hurting your depth, and you're taking on a 41-year-old player who's not going to play close to 82 games. It just doesn't seem like a wise move.
Okay.
I think it would make sense if it's like, okay, doing this increases their championship chances by, I don't know, 20%. But like we were just saying, like, we're not even sure if it improves it at all. It's very close. It doesn't clearly make them better, right?
Okay, fair enough. I agree.
Okay. Second option is, and this is the option that you would think that they should do. OG and Mitch.
Done.
You think they should do that?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think they should do that in a heartbeat.
Of course,
but the Lakers would never want to do that, though. I mean, that would be.
The Lakers would do that in a
stupid.
second. I think.
No,
I think the Lakers would do that in a second. No, I think they would.
I think you're wrong.
I think they would.
I respect your opinion, but no.
That would be actually the two perfect players to put around Luka. A rim running alley-oop guy, like the really good defensive players at center, and a really good defensive wing who can guard 1 through 5. And hit and do catch and shoot threes. Like those are two great.
The Knicks should do that, man. Come on, they get out from the Anunoby contract. They get LeBron. That would be win-win. You know, it would suck to see Robinson go. He gives you good minutes, but
so what it would do for what it would
trade
do for
Andre Drummond, maybe three-team deal.
So they wouldn't be able to do any other moves.
LeBron.
Okay. All right. Seriously though. So if you take OG off the Knicks, the team defensively is a disaster.
We don't have to do
our
Anunoby debate.
Yeah. So okay. Well, whatever. You don't need to debate it. But again, it would also same thing, shortening their window. OG's under contract for 4 more years. And then LeBron could just easily retire after the year, and then you're losing that contract slot also. Plus, to make that trade, you're trading 2 for 1. So you're aggregating contracts, hard capture the second apron, trading 2 rotation players for 1. You're taking a team with a lack of depth and making it worse, and taking away the maneuverability with the mid-level exception, and saying this is basically the 6-man rotation. Figure it out defensively. Again, I knew you would like that one, but again, I think it makes them worse right away. It definitely shortens the window. Yeah, so it handicaps them going forward. All right. The last option, let's do this quickly. It would be Bridges plus Hart plus Mitch.
Something to consider.
But you're trading 3 rotation players for 1.
Yeah.
And you're again, same thing. You're hard capping yourself with the second apron. You're taking away your mid-level exception. You're trading 3 rotation players for 1. Now you have what? That would leave them with essentially 5 rotation players plus league veteran signings, like league minimum signings. It just doesn't seem like that's a good way to win.
Yeah.
It just seems like you're very limited. Again, shortening your window.
Okay.
So it's the whole thing is you're shortening your window. You don't do that unless you're like, okay, this is clear. We're the team to beat type thing. And LeBron doesn't do that for this team. Not age 41 LeBron.
Yeah.
So as fun as it would be, doesn't work for the Knicks. I think it even makes less sense for the Sixers. So that's that. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gets traded.
So I would be shocked. But I've been wrong before. So I said I would be shocked if Tom Thibodeau got fired, and he was fired like 2 days later. So
yeah, me too.
I guess my read on these things isn't that great, but I would still be shocked.
Okay. I wouldn't be that surprised. I'd be surprised if he went to the Knicks or the Sixers, though. That I'd be very surprised about.
Dude, could you imagine the coverage on ESPN if LeBron went to the Knicks? What would it be like? That would be 80% of their coverage would be LeBron, Mecca, all year. All year. even during football season, it would be LeBron is on the Knicks.
That'd be a weird cultural thing. That'd be like a
I think
cultural
so too.
shock for the
I can't.
Knicks.
I just can't picture him like on the Knicks. Could you
I
picture
can't
him in a
picture.
Knicks uniform? It's
I
like,
can't picture like him being like the number 2 guy. Like I
yeah,
know he's the second best player on the Lakers now, but he's still the face of the franchise
yeah,
currently. If he came to the Knicks, he wouldn't be. That'd be
right,
weird. Or he would be, and Brunson. It would be very strange. Also,
yeah,
by the way, I didn't mention this. I don't think LeBron and Brunson make sense together either. Like LeBron's great on the ball, and he's great off the ball. It's not about that. It's just that. And it's not that Brunson's not willing to be off the ball. It's just that his value off the ball as a player is just not nearly as high. He's more of an
yeah.
on the ball player.
Yeah, but in the playoffs, like you said, I think it
It's good to have
definitely
that second guy. Yeah.
makes them harder to defend. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Baseball. Right. We wanted to
baseball.
touch on the baseball. So
Let's do it.
we haven't really talked. I don't think we talked about it at all since like we did like the baseball season previews, and then we talked like I think the first like weekend series we talked about the games, and then we haven't really talked about these teams at all. The Yankees are in first in the AL East. The Mets got off to a great start.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
The Mets got off to a great start. They've had a very bad June. The Phillies have been pretty consistent the entire season. They're in first place in the NL East. The Mets are in second. So all three teams are doing really well, even though the Mets lately have been terrible. Yankees also had a bad June, but have kind of recovered recently. Let's start with the Phillies.
Okay. Let's do it.
So currently up by 1 game as the time we're recording this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts? Any positive or negative thoughts? Things that have jumped out at you? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I think the first half's been really good. A couple. Obviously, the starting pitching has been awesome. The loss of Jose Alvarado has really hurt. They didn't really have a very good bullpen to begin with, and Alvarado was their best reliever, and him not being available sucks, and it's really hurt the team. But the starting pitching has been awesome. Luzardo is a stud. He's pretty much, he's had a couple bad starts as of late, but he's everything that you'd hoped for when they made the trade. Ranger just continues to be the man, like the best Philly over the past however many years. Not best, but certainly top 3 Philly. Just awesome. Awesome watching him pitch. He's just such a good pitcher. He doesn't blow you away, but he mixes pitches. He changes speed. He's awesome.
Free agent after the season, by the way.
Yeah. So, which is a very big talking point in Philadelphia right now.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, Wheeler's been really good lately. So kind of everything that you would expect to happen, especially once Harper went down. I think we always kind of knew going into the season that the starting pitching staff was going to be good. The bullpen was going to be a little bit iffy, and the lineup was mostly going to struggle, and specifically without Bryce. So hopefully he's back today, but as we've said before on this podcast, it usually takes him a good 3-4 weeks to get going again. Sucks that the All-Star break is going to be smack in the middle of his.
Did you see what he said about his wrist?
I didn't. I saw that he made some comments, but I didn't get a chance to see what he said.
Yeah, he said, to paraphrase, he said the wrist wasn't really getting better. It was at a point where I was just like, it's not getting better. I'm going to have to manage the pain, that's not great.
That does not sound great at all. So super cool. I think I'm pretty pleased. The other thing that the schedule was pretty easy in the first half, so I'm glad that they were able to take advantage of it. I'm still pretty leery of how they're going to do in the second half, given the concerns that I just expressed as far as the lineup and the Harper injury and the schedule. But overall, I mean, yeah, they're in a pretty good spot. I'm curious to see what they do at the deadline this year, because Dombrowski really hasn't made any big splashes at the deadline over the past few years. Now, I think part of that is because, and we've talked about this, but now there's so many teams who are in playoff contention. So the sellers who are selling off pieces, they have all these teams competing for for their players. So they're able to drive the asking price up to really anything they want.
Yeah.
So I think that's
it's definitely hard for it's definitely a seller's market every year now, for sure.
Yeah. The buyers have just not really taken as big of swings as they might have in years past. So, but I'm happy. I mean, they're one game up. And yeah, what more could you ask for? I mean, they've taken their licks, but every team does. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about it I was thinking about it this morning because I think for a lot of people, I don't think this is the case for you and I, but I think a lot of the meltdowns that fans have, like, you know, you'll have Philly got swept by the Astros this past week. Like, yeah, that sucked. But I think a lot of people use baseball to get them through to football season. So they don't really like understand that losses are going to happen and like you're going to have some bad weeks and, you know, maybe like a bad month, but you're going to be okay because over the course of the season, like, you know, the everything regresses to the mean. Now,
You know, it's really funny because it's like I have conversations with people about baseball, and they're saying like Mets fans recently, the Mets are really struggling. The offense looks terrible, and they're like, "What are you seeing that makes you think that they're going to turn it around?" It's like it's not what I'm seeing currently. It's what I've seen in through watching baseball my whole life. Is that sometimes teams look bad, and then all of a sudden they look good, and you're like, and when they look at their best, you can't imagine them not playing well. Early in their season, when the Mets were doing great, all these Mets fans were telling me that listen to this podcast were about all these. They were like running, they were you know acting like, oh, they're mocking me because I like questioned the pitching lab and said the Mets were going to like miss the playoffs, and you know, and I was like, well, let's it's a little early. Let's relax. Let's wait and see what happens. And I'm not saying that they're not going to make the playoffs. I actually think they are going to make the playoffs, but no, we'll get into the Mets in a second. But yes, people get into whatever's happening in that week, that series, that 2 weeks. They get so wrapped up in it, and it's like their minds can't get past the fact of how they've seen their team playing in the last few days, as opposed to understanding that if you win 100 games, which is elite, you're going to have probably 3 or 4 bad 2-week stretches in that, and you're still going to win 100 games.
So you know why I thought this? Because I was watching the Phillies game yesterday, and they showed they had a graphic about Brian Snitker on the screen, and it said that his winning percentage as Braves manager was like, I don't know, it was like .553 or something like that. And he's obviously had a very good tenure with the Braves, and I was just thinking like .553, like if this guy was a football coach, he'd be going like 9-8 every year. But that's just how baseball is. You just like the winning percentages, and yeah, if you win 100 games, like you said, you still lose a third of your games, which is a lot. So,
Yeah.
you know, the other thing, what you just said is like was why we started. You know, one of the inspirations behind us doing this podcast, because last year, if you recall, I was making fun of all the Yankees fans for crying because they lost like 3 out of 4 games in July last year, and you know, of course, they all wanted to fire the manager and the general manager, and they're the worst team ever, and all they did was make the World Series. Oh, and by the way, this year, how many organizations can do this? Name me another organization who can go to the World Series, lose their second best player to free agency, lose their workhorse ace starting pitcher, and still be the best team in baseball. So
Probably
not
them.
many.
Well, they're not the best team in baseball, but yeah, it's probably them and the Dodgers that could really do stuff like that. Yeah,
Pretty amazing. So everyone be happy, be grateful. I know you are, but you know, I haven't said this in a while, so I need to make my rounds. Be
Yankee
happy.
fans aren't.
Your team's really good, and
I don't think Yankee fans have been that bad though this year, right? I don't think they have been.
I haven't paid as much attention, but I will. I'll keep notice now. I will.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
keep
think.
tabs
I
on them.
mean,
But that's the
obviously,
thing.
I wouldn't notice most of it, but the Yankee fans I talk to that are typically like get all upset, mainly Greg, really hasn't been. It's even when they were in their bad stretch this month, it wasn't everything's terrible. It's a bad stretch.
Good for him. He's maturing too. Wow. Yeah. Look at this.
Can I ask you about the Phillies though, real quickly? We'll do like an all-star game break mid-season review episodes, but we'll get. But I just have a. We'll get into the deadline stuff then, but I think they need to address the outfield. They need to address the lineup.
Oh, they've needed to address the outfield. They've needed to address the outfield for 3 years, and
Max Kepler's been bad.
Yeah, Rojas is bad. Marsh is bad. All of these guys are bad. Yeah. So
they need a legitimate right-handed bat that could play a quality outfield, can hit. Because right now their offense has pretty much been Schwarber's been elite.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Turner's been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And Bryce, when healthy, has been really good. Other than that, everyone in their lineup, weighted runs created plus, is below league average.
Yeah. They've really struggled, which again was the concern going in, and it's playing out.
But the pitching, like you said, pitching's been incredible. So at least they got that.
Yeah.
Where do they rank pitching wise? Let's see. Let's go to, I don't know, what should we do? What metric? Let's go adjusted ERA. Good? You good with that? ERA adjusted for league average?
That's my favorite stat, actually. So, hit me.
The Phillies are 10th. 91, meaning 9% better than league average.
The
Yankees are 4th at 87. The Mets are 8th.
The pitching lab.
Pitching lab, yeah. So that's just one, obviously, metric. But run prevention is probably the most important stat. If you wanted to say, I want to choose one stat that I care about pitching. All the other stuff helps you project going forward and tells you defense, base running, flukiness, randomness, things like that, how they played a role. But ultimately, if you're watching your team pitch, you want them to not give up a run, right? That's kind of, as you're watching the Phillies pitch, you're in that inning, you're half inning, you're rooting them to the other team to not score.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Mets. So Mets fans are going nuts. Have you seen this?
I just know that they got swept by the Pirates, which
they got swept by the Pirates. It got outscored like 30-4.
Yes.
They have, I think they're 12-15 in June, 12-16, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They had a 7-game lead in the division, 6 games. There was a significant lead. I don't know exactly what it was, but they've lost it. They're obviously behind the Phillies now. Everything that was going right for the Mets has come crashing down. Everybody that was, celebrating their pitching lab and that I was wrong, they're seeing their pitching just get destroyed.
Give it to them.
Yeah, so
pitching sucks.
No,
come on.
Let's just let this play out.
No, give us like when you gave us that the Knicks needed to blow it up and that they'll never win a championship. Give us that, just the Mets pitching lab version of that. No. You can do it, man.
All right.
I believe in you.
The whole Mets situation right now. Ready?
Yep.
I don't have it in me.
Come on.
I just don't have it in me.
Oh, dude, you got me so excited. I thought you were gonna fire it up. Can you maybe do it for next week? Can you work on one? And
yeah, I'll work on it.
Maybe listen to some WFAN this week and.
Yeah, that's the thing. I need to get some inspiration. I need to listen to WFAN.
All right.
I guarantee you, WFAN hosts and callers are like in full panic mode about the season, like full panic mode. Yeah, definitely. Their pitching is a mess. I mean, they have Paul Blackburn. Montas got destroyed by the Pirates. They have Paul Blackburn struggling. Clay Holmes can't go past 5 innings. It's just Sang is injured. And then the lineup is Soto's actually has turned it around. He's been awesome. Surprised, right? But like Lindor's, everybody's freaking out. Lindor's so funny because everybody freaks out. He has these months and goes through these 2-month stretches where he's really bad. And then everybody's like, oh, what's wrong with Lindor? And then he gets really hot and they think he's the best player ever. And that's just the Lindor experience. That's just how his seasons are. And I think on our preview episode, our Mets preview episode, I talked about how I do not expect Lindor to be nearly as good as he was his previous season because this was his best offensive season. And like I think he's going to finish as a very good offensive player. He's just not MVP level. And then, I mean, Pete had this amazing start, and he's cooled off, and they're relying on Beatty and Vientos and all these, Acuna and all these younger guys, and they're struggling. But they're 11 games over 500. They're a game out of first in the NL East, so I think they're okay. Like, you're going to July, a game out of first place in the division. It's a pretty good spot to be in, even though I get the frustration, though, because they were up big. They were looking like they were going to run away with the division, and now they're going to be in a battle for the division.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, you almost don't want your team to get off to that good of a start, because now, there's always the people, we joke around, but there's always there's still time crowd when your team gets off to a not great start. But, theoretically, the times where you're playing well is going to come later in the season. But when it's the opposite, where you start off really well and then you kind of...
It feels a lot different.
It feels a lot different, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's what's happening.
I agree. Yankees.
Yankees good from start to finish. Ho-hum, They don't hit the lull.
Yankees have you noticed what Judge is doing this year?
No.
He's on pace to have the best weighted runs created plus in the history of baseball.
Really?
Yes. Yes, like better than Barry Bonds, like 2001 and 2003.
Oh my God.
It's incredible. It's like
steroids.
Like you're not even. It's really incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, Judge is incredible. It's so he's getting better and better somehow. It's crazy. And he's hitting like 370, like 30 homers. Yeah, it's just it's incredible.
Wow.
500 on base. It's really insane.
500 on base?
Let me see what exactly is. But it's
man.
If it's not exactly that, it's very close. Let's see. Oh, I was a little off. Yeah, I was exaggerating a little bit. It was okay. It's 458.
Wow, still pretty sick. Now, who signed him to his extension and contract?
Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner.
Okay, all right, pretty good. Now, are you able to enjoy the season that he's having, or are you just thinking about the Rodon contract every time you watch? How much better would they pay less?
I thought you were going to go into a different direction with that. I thought you were going to, because there's a lot of Yankee fans like, well, let me know what he does in the playoffs.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he struck out once in the World Series, and he's the worst.
He wasn't good in the playoffs. But like the idea that people just can't enjoy what he's doing, like the historic season he's having, and that like they didn't have him, they wouldn't even get to the playoffs all these years.
That's so great. That is so good.
They expect him like, yeah, wait, let me know what he does in the playoffs. Like, well, dude, like he can't do it. He can't do anything about the playoffs right now. So you may as well just enjoy what's happening.
It's still fun to watch as a fan, I'm sure.
Oh, it's awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And the Yankees pitching's been great. You said that you mentioned how, what team could do, lose their second best player and then lose their ace to injury. And when you sign a free agent with the money that you wouldn't have had if Soto was back, and the free agent is a top 2 pitcher in the American League, that's kind of helps. Max Fried's been awesome.
No surprise there. And I hate the Yankees, but I hate the Braves more. And the fact that he is
the Braves.
Off of the Braves, I'm all for it. Good riddance.
Good riddance. Yeah, he's a 1.92 ERA right now.
Wow.
He has a 0.94 WHIP. His ERA minus, which means adjusted ERA for league average, 48. So he's 52% better than league average in terms of ERA. And his K rates are, he's just he's a 4% walk rate. He's just been awesome. Clark Schmidt's been really good. Carlos Rodon has been really good this year.
Oh, stop.
I know you made a joke.
No. He sucks.
I remember I mentioned to Greg like the idea like Rodon could have a really good season, and he just completely like would not even entertain the idea because he saw him be bad for 1 year and then okay 1 year. He's like, no, he can't be good.
That's
Rodon's
right.
having a really good year.
Almost as if he was really good when they signed him.
2.95 ERA for Rodon. But yeah.
Call me when he does it in the playoffs.
You remember his first playoff start when he was like all giddy?
Oh, that was great. When he was saying, come on, boys, and then he got shelled. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was so good.
So Yankees have got some really good performance from Grisham, from Ben Rice. Goldie had a crazy first 2 months. He's been slumping the last month and a half. And then, I mean, they've gotten like, it's crazy that you know how we talked about the Phillies, how they have basically 2 guys that have been great and then everyone else is below league average. The Yankees' entire starting 9 are league average or better. So, and people, even the people that hate on Volpe, they think he sucks. Yeah. Bill Simmons actually made a comment. So I've been listening to a little Bill Simmons recently.
You must be bored.
I just have had time to listen to podcasts more.
Okay.
And I can get into what I think about Bill Simmons' podcast, by the way, if you'd like. But
maybe
I think I texted you about it.
What is it?
We'll do another time. Yeah. But anyway, he was talking about something about basketball, how like guys are just, I forgot, there was some player he was talking about in the NBA who is just given a spot, and he was like, it's like Volpe, and he said Volpe. He was like, he can't pronounce it correctly. He's like, it's like Volpe on the Yankees. Like he's just given shortstop, you know, he's like a horrible hitter, he's a horrible player. And he's actually like a good player though. He's not a very good hitter, but he's actually dude, I don't know where Bill Simmons gets this from. Why does he think he knows baseball?
So this is interesting. You are becoming more emotional as we get older, and I'm becoming more logical. This just struck a nerve with you, and you are pissed because he insulted someone on your beloved Yankees.
No, I don't like when people perpetuate misinformation. If you're not knowledgeable and informed on something, you don't need to speak about it. You don't need to make a comparative analogy to Volpe. When you don't know, when you don't follow baseball, you don't know.
All right,
but that's what it is. I don't like people that speak on something. And when we have this conversation about what I think about Bill Simmons' podcast in the future, there's a lot of that in what he talks about, and I didn't realize that. I'm very disappointed in him. Yeah.
Okay.
Because a lot of stuff that he talks about, his thoughts and ideas, I think are really interesting. I like. And I really respect how closely he follows the NBA, but we'll get into that at a different time.
All right. Okay.
Are we? Is that it? Baseball.
That's it.
We'll get into more detail. We'll do midseason reviews. Yankees, Phillies, Mets. We'll do that around the All-Star break. Greg will come on for the Yankees one.
Okay.
And that'll be fun. But we'll get into more details. So if you're looking for more detailed. You're going to get it. Oh, Luke Kennard went to the Hawks. I was interested in him for the Knicks.
Oh, Kennard.
Luke Kennard. Yeah.
Wow, the Hawks are getting it done this offseason, huh?
Hawks are like, ooh, there's a chance for us to be the 3rd best team in the East.
Yeah.
4th best team, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. We're not mocking New York fans on Twitter, but real quickly, I wanted to mock you.
Oh, no. Okay. I
deserve Early on. How many episodes in were we when you came up with the idea to do this segment?
It was early on. It was
like 2 or 3 episodes in. Really early on. Great idea. Great segment. For a long period of time, it was the subscriber favorite segment. And I had a couple people over the last month or so ask me, you guys haven't been doing that. What's going on with that? And I thought my answer was just, Sistad just has kind of been lazy. He's been busy, whatever. He hasn't gotten. And then I realized something. There's not nearly as much to mock as you thought. New York fans aren't nearly as bad as you thought. Now that you have to put it actually into action, you're realizing there's actually not that much to mock. What do you think?
That is not true. And I apologize to the people. I have let you down. There's plenty to mock.
Are you sure? Because you're not proving it.
Dude, I am positive. My thing is,
why are we doing it then?
It's because I've been lazy, I think. Not lazy, but very busy. And well, the thing about it is, what people it takes me a long time because I want to get like, yeah, there's a million ones to pick from, but I want to get like good ones that I think are really funny and that I think that we will like and make people laugh. So
Dude,
I put a
there
lot of
has to
time
be.
into it, and
Oh,
I
okay.
just want to get the right one. And
Okay.
I haven't allotted an amount. You know what I used to do is just kind of peruse all throughout the week, and I just haven't been doing that lately. Now I kind of try to do it like the day before, or the day of, and it just doesn't. It's not enough time. So I need to get back to what I
You
did
need to get back
originally.
in the
Was
habit.
just yes,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, we
So
need
I
you
will.
to.
Noted. I will.
Because I'm starting to be. I think that if you don't do it soon, you're just proving my question or my theory.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
New
I'm
York's too
sorry.
classy for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man.
All right. Subscriber questions. 3 subscriber questions.
Okay.
All right. At Paul H90. On your NBA offseason episodes, you talked about teams avoiding the second apron. What's the difference between the first and second apron? Before I have you answer this question, as the capologist and the CBA expert, when I first saw this question, I thought it meant, what's the difference between the first and second apron salary-wise? Like, is it $10 million? Like, what's the gap?
No. What's the
As I was,
restrictions they're asking?
that's what I wasn't sure. When I sent it to you and I was rereading it, I was like, wait a second. What are they asking? So you think they're asking the restrictions?
I think they're asking, yes, what does the first apron limit you to do versus what does the second apron limit you to do?
Okay. So the gap, by the way, is somewhere around like 10 or 11 million difference.
Right, yeah, it's not much.
It's not much. It's not much at all. Okay. So in terms of limitations, I don't know how much you want to get into this, but I guess real quickly, do you know what the differences are?
No, I just know that they're pretty extreme. I know that
Do you care?
I mean, not necessarily. I just know that, like, yeah, once. All right, I'm gonna take a stab at it. So first apron isn't that extreme. I think you have to pay some like luxury tax, and that I don't know. But the second apron is like you can't really. You're hard capped. You can't really like it makes trades much harder. You can't trade out more salary than you get in, so there's a
That's
lot.
true. That's true in both.
Oh, it is okay. So
Yeah.
I don't exactly know that.
No, but you're on the right path. You're on the right path. It's very restrictive. Is kind of what you do. You understand enough to know that it's restrictive in terms of roster maneuvering. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So in the first apron, like you said, you can't trade or take in more salary than you get sending out. That's also true in the second apron. The difference is in the first apron, you can aggregate contracts to even up the salary. In the second apron, you can't aggregate like you can't trade 2 players for one to match up salaries. You basically have to trade 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 or 3 for 3.
Right.
So that makes it harder to like trade, improve the roster significantly and make trades.
Right.
You also, if you're in the second apron, you have a pick 7 years down the road frozen. So this year, I think it's the 2032 pick is frozen. Now, knowing you with picks, you might say like, okay, I'm not really that worried about a first round pick 7 years from now. Right. But do you know the rule where you can't trade first round picks back to back years? So, okay. So say you have a 2032 pick frozen. You can't trade your 2031 first round pick because you don't have your 2032 pick. You have to. So now you lost 2 picks, and then
what does
it
mean to be frozen? It means that you can't trade it or you lose it.
You can't move. You don't. You can't trade it. You can't move it. It only becomes unfrozen if you're out of the second apron.
Okay.
So it's harder to make trades because you can't aggregate contracts. So you lose picks, assets to make trades. So it's getting really harder and harder to make trades.
So yes, it makes roster building very difficult. So I just thought of a great like gag gift.
we should get aprons and put like first apron and second apron on them. I don't know why we haven't done that already. We can record a podcast, each wearing our respective apron. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is good for
No.
the NBA?
No. It's good for owners. This is a way the owners are able to limit contracts. I don't know why the Players Association agreed to this. Also, why make it really confusing for the media and the fans to understand your CBA? That's another thing. Like, why are you making it so confusing? My only theory on that is they're trying to confuse the players to accepting it. Like, why else would you do this? Why would you make it so complicated?
So I personally, I think it's great. And I think I'm the only person that everybody hates it except for me. And I think I think if I rooted for a team that was like had more success and like was better ran, I would probably hate it too. Because what I see, like the growing sentiment, and it's not just like Bill Simmons, although he started it, but it's because, you know, he's a Celtics fan and the Celtics are one of the first real casualties of the second apron because they're not able to keep this team together. But like one of the things that I've seen is so a lot of these teams can't stay together, and I'm like, good. Like give some of the other teams a damn shot at it, man. I don't care that the Celtics, so the Celtics can't run the East for 10 years. Sorry, don't care. Like I think it's better better for the smaller market team. It sucks for the teams that are well ran, like because they have been smarter.
You're getting kind of penalized for building a really good roster. Yeah,
yes, and I, the hater in me, says, great, you should get penalized, and my team should have. We should be on more of a level playing field, and I think you've kind of seen that because a lot of the teams that aren't traditionally good have been like pretty good. And I think that is cool. I think it's good for the league. And like
it's bad ultimately, for the players.
It's bad for the players. Not why?
Because what it's doing to the market is it's one putting a superstar franchise player in a position where if he wants to, in order to build the best roster around him, he has to accept less, which is lowering the value for the superstar player. Say Jalen Brunson as an example. And for the non-star players, so you got these trade exceptions. You got this non-taxpayer mid-level exceptions, $14 million. If you're a player that's like probably valued around 20 to 25 million, you're gonna in an offseason like this, you're gonna have to settle for 14 million because that's what teams can afford. And that's a slippery slope because then you got players that really should be making 12 million and they're gonna have to take 5.5 or 8 million, and then you got players making 5 million. They're gonna have to take the league minimum 3 million. Everyone's like has to take less if you're not a star player, like a high end star player. So it's kind of hurting their value in terms of, and then you got like this offseason where you got one team that has cap space. So you got like Naz Reid signing an extension or re-signing with the Timberwolves at like 25 million per year. Naz Reid is clearly worth, compared to the other players making 25, 30 million, he's worth over $30 million. But he has to sign this lower value because the only team that has the cap space to give him money are the Nets. So he just has to go back to the Wolves for less than his actual worth.
Well, I think that creates some parity, and I think
it creates parity. But
I think that's good.
Do you think that the owners are wanted this because this was ratified because it creates parity, or because they're hiding their desire to limit salaries and they're hiding it behind the disguise of we want parity?
I don't know. That's a good question. I do think what you have, I hear what you're saying about players having to take less, but I think that there's a good segment. I think teams need to get smarter with how they give out contracts, and I think that while some people are going to be underpaid, I think there's a lot of people who are overpaid in the NBA over the past few years. And I'm thinking, there's a million examples. Tobias Harris was on a max contract. Like, that's not good. Anunoby, max contract. Like, not good. So
But Anunoby got that contract because of the CBA, because of the current rules.
I'm just using him as an example of
I know,
someone who's
but
overpaid.
he's an example of someone that got overpaid, actually, because
right. My point exactly. And he's being overpaid, and that's not fair because now the players who are going to be underpaid have guys like Anunoby and Tobias Harris to thank for that. So teams should get
Tobias
smarter
Harris,
with who they give max contracts to. Michael Porter
No,
Jr. probably not worth the max contract, right? Like
Yeah, but
good player, not worth the amount of money he's making. Towns,
okay, but
come on, everyone complains that Towns going to be making $60 million in 2 years. Like, then I don't know. Don't give him that contract then.
But you could
don't do it. He's overpaid.
You know how it's not that simple. If you don't give the player that money, you can't just spend that money on a different player. You can't just spend $40 million on a player that's worth $40 million. That's the part of the CBA and the apron because it makes it so hard to make trades. You can't. We have the salary. The incoming salary has to be matched to the outgoing salary if you're over the first apron or second apron. So that's what makes it really tough. Is if you let the player go, you can't just say, "Oh, let's get this other guy at $30 million because I think it's a better valued contract." You can't do that. So there could be some aspects of this that are good, and then maybe the restrictions on trade, the limitations should be a little bit eased. I just think it's not even that. I'm fine. It's too complicated for people to understand. Like I put a lot of research into this, and I only understand like 75% of it. And you have all these podcasters who love the NBA and follow the NBA really closely. They don't understand it. They don't understand trades. They can't analyze a trade because they're analyzing it wrong because they don't understand the CBA aspect on the trade.
Yeah, well, that is for damn
and that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case.
I agree.
It's too complicated. Okay, there's also a couple other things. Let's move on though. This subscriber question, and this subscriber is my dad. And after our last episode, everyone check it out. It was the good job plugging our last episode, right?
That's right.
We did player matchups, New York players versus Philadelphia players of all time, and it was a fun episode. Check it out. We disagreed on a lot. We agreed on a lot. But anyway, my dad watched the episode, and I asked him, do you think we missed like any obvious comps? And he said, I was thinking about that you missed Billy Cunningham. And I said, I don't know who that is. I said, I wonder if Sistad knows who he is. Do you know who? So my dad, Steve M. Joseph, his subscriber question is, Sistad, are you familiar with Billy Cunningham?
So am I familiar with him? No. I know who he is. He is he's a 76ers legend. He's one of the best players in franchise history. I want to say he was there in the 70s. And he's a white boy. So he might be the best white Sixer of all time, which is great. But I don't really know I guess I don't really know the lore of Billy Cunningham. No, I don't.
Do you know his nickname?
No. I didn't
Kangaroo
know he had a
Kid.
nickname.
Kangaroo Kid.
Kangaroo Kid. Is he Australian?
That is a great question.
I'd like to know how he got this nickname. It's a pretty good nickname.
He's not Australian. He was nicknamed, according to Wikipedia, he was nicknamed the Kangaroo Kid for his leaping and record-setting rebounding abilities.
All right.
He was a player. Wait, he was a coach as well.
Player coach. Oh, yes. This is coming back
9
to
seasons
me,
as a player. He spent 8 as a coach. He's in the Hall of Fame.
That's crazy. A player coach. What years was he in Philadelphia?
He spent a total of 17 seasons with the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers. But years?
Not all playing though, right?
No, he was a coach for 8 years.
Just a coach.
Yeah, he wasn't a player coach. I got that wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a player for 7 seasons or 9 seasons, and then a coach for 8.
So what seasons did he play there?
You were right. 70s. He played in 65, 66 season was his rookie season. So he played from 66 through 76.
So he might have won a championship. I think the Sixers won a championship in the late 60s. I could be wrong. But I also think that that means that he was a part of the worst team in NBA history. Team went 10-72. Some year in the 70s. Sometime in the 70s.
I don't know. I'm not gonna go far and look into it. But okay, interesting. Okay. So you know of him, but you're not really very familiar.
Correct.
All right, fair enough. Last subscriber question. At Bronx to Broad Street, who wins more playoff games this year? Yankees, Phillies, or Mets?
Ugh. I mean, it's got to be the Yankees.
Does a team that's not going to be in the wild card have a disadvantage here?
That's a good point. Yes, they do. Very good point.
Should we change the question to who's going to go further?
Yes.
All right, who's going to go further? You're going to say the Yankees?
Yankees, yes.
I tend to agree.
All right.
Yeah.
See, we agree all the time.
Yeah, but again, if we went into the reasoning, which we're not going to, we would not agree on the process to get there.
The end result is the same.
I don't necessarily think the Yankees are significantly better than the Phillies or the Mets. I just think that the American League's a lot worse.
Okay. I would agree.
All right. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Please give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Philly pride and Sistad soul. Andrew rapping and wild bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Fingers and wide. Who the call? Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, Sistad, glad unite. Philly and Y and